Chapter 9, Leadership Communication. Objectives. Describe the significance of acting as a communication champion and a sense giver rather than just an information processor. Use key elements of the leader strategic conversations such as open communication, ask questions, listen, candor, telling stories to communicate effectively, summarize how to communicate in a way that persuades and influences others, explain the considerations involved in selecting an appropriate communication channel for a given message, explain how nonverbal communication influences the ways in which messages are received. Communication, a process by which information and understanding are transferred between a sender and a receiver. So this is two-way. It's not one way. It's not talking to somebody. It's communicating with them. So a circular model of communication. So if we look at the sender over here on the left, formulates a message. Channel travels the message, verbal and non-verbal symbols. Follow channel. The receiver gets to interpret the message. Now, the receiver formulates message. Channel goes back. Message, verbal and non-verbal signals here. Goes back to the sender. Interpret message. So you see it's a two-way process. And it's 360 degrees. Management communication. Traditional role of a manager in an information processor. Managers have communication responsibility in directing and controlling the organization, establish themselves at the center of the information networks to facilitate the completion of tasks. So the manager's traditional role of manager is information processor. So they had responsibility for basically making sure messages were getting sent and establish themselves as a C centers and for networks to facilitate task stuff. Leader as a communication champion. Communication champion, a person who is philosophically grounded in the belief that communication is essential to building trust and gaining commitment to a vision. Embeddedness, when people throughout the organization are united around a common purpose based on deep understanding and acceptance of the vision strategy. Sense giving, process of influencing how others made sense of the organization, where they fit within it and the long purpose of work. So when you see the leader, communication champion is a person who is philosophically grounded in the belief that communication is essential to building trust. This is somebody who truly believes and understands how communication works and relating to people and understanding that it has a purpose and it's supposed to be done a certain way to get a certain result. Embeddedness is when people throughout the organization are united around a common purpose based on the understanding, accepted. So this is when you get everybody else right here who's accepted the communication from the champion. They accept it, they understand, and they're with it. Sense giving, the process of influence how others make sense of where they fit in. And the sense giving is, does this make sense to me? You know, do I have a fit in this large organization? The leader as a communication champion. So you see, you have a leader as a communication champion. So if you look at internal and external sources, strategic conversation, open climate, asking questions, listen, candor, using stories. And now from the leader, purpose, directed, direction, attention, vision, values, desired outcomes, use persuasion, methods, use rich channels, nonverbal communication, social media. So the leader as a communication champion is not only to get information, ask the right questions to get it, and have these strategic conversations, but in purpose, direct the methods and how you get it out there. Direct values, missions, desired with people, and how. What methods are you using? The different channels. Use internal people, external people. You use social media, nonverbal communications. Strategic conversation, communication that takes place across boundaries and hierarchical levels about the groups or organizations. Vision, strategy, strategic themes and values that can help achieve desired outcomes. So these are basically communication and conversations that happen for a reason. There's a purpose behind them, and there's an outcome behind it as well. Leading strategic conversations, Ask questions and listen actively to others. So you're asking questions and listen to others. Understand their attitudes and values, needs, and set the agenda for the conversation. Underscore the agenda for the conversation. When you set that, it's like, well, what's the purpose of this? And what are we going to go about? How are we going to go about it? Underscore the key strategic themes that are linked to the organizational success. Select the right communication channels to facilitate dialogue. So as you see, it's not just having a conversation. It is structured. It has strategy. It has purpose. And it's also selecting the right way to do it and to facilitate it. Open communications, leaders share all types of information throughout the company and across all levels. So this is when they share it with everybody in the organization. Why open communication climate? An open climate is essential for cascading vision. Cascading is essential because natural law one, you get what you talk about. A vision must be ample airtime in the organization. A vision must be shared and practiced by leaders at every opportunity. So when you have the open climate, you get everybody, all the leaders, regardless of the level, have the same vision and they share, they believe in it. Law two, the climate of the organization is a reflection of the leader. A leader who doesn't embody the vision and values doesn't have an organization that does. People will take their cues from the leader. If the leader doesn't reflect what the organization's values and missions are, well, others won't buy into it either. 3, you can walk faster than one step at a time. A vision is neither understood nor accepted overnight. Communication that vision must be built in a continuous daily interaction so that over time followers will internalize it. So realistically, when you have a vision, people just don't buy into it. It takes a period of time, and it takes consistency, and it takes persistence to continue to do this day in and day out so that everybody else eventually buy into it. Benefits of an open communication climate. It helps alleviate tension and conflict between departments. Builds trust. So when you're talking about tension between the departments, large police departments in particular, they have different departments. And sometimes you find that they have different agendas and different goals. You have to have this open communication to help alleviate that. One of the things is when people operate in silos or work in silos, a lot of times you don't have tension arises because it's like turf protection. Open climate builds trust, reaffirms employee commitment to a shared vision. It's to ensure also everybody is buying into the vision. It makes a company more competitive. Why? Because everybody knows what's going on. There are no hidden agendas, so it's nothing being hid. So now people can compete and know that they're competing on a fair playing field. Questions that leader asks. Leader-centered seeks to inform the leader about what is going on in the organization, investigate specific issues, problems, or opportunities, gathers information, ideas, or insights. So they're seeking to find out not what they think, not what they think they know, but what's really going on. And in order to do that, you got to ask the right type of questions. You got to investigate issues, problems, opportunities, gather information, and you're talking to people and get their insights. Follower-centered seeks to connect with followers, develops new insights, encourages critical thinking, expands people's awareness, and stimulates learning. So when you have this, when you're trying to seek to connect the followers with what's going on, the vision, and how people think, encourage critical thinking, expands people's awareness, get them to buy in and take ownership. And most of all, you want to stimulate a learning environment. Basically, they learn as they go. Benefits of asking questions. Encourages people to think and find answers. Helps build positive attitudes and follower self-confidence. Provokes critical thought and leads to deeper, more lasting learning. Shows concerns for individuals. Develops new insights. Encourages critical thinking. Expands people's awareness. Stimulates learning. Notice I said that last time. Stimulates learning. The benefits of asking questions encourages a lot of things. People to think and find questions. This is what you want. You want people to be curious. You want them to ask questions. You want them to not question everything in a negative way, but in a positive way, to help them to understand, find answers. And it also helps them to develop the critical thinking. Listening, the skill of grasping and interpreting a message's genuine message. So notice grasping and interpreting a message's genuine message. What someone really means, not what you just assume it means. Keys to effective listening. Listen actively, keep an open mind, resist distractions, seek understanding, judge content, not delivery, hold one's fire. So when you see this, and I won't go through the poor listener and the good listener, you can go through those on your own, but you see the examples that they give. And these things are important to listen. Some people listen long enough just so they can get you to stop so they can start talking. If you're truly listening to people, you hear what they're saying, you value what they're saying, and you're going to respond accordingly. Candor. Candor refers to honest, forthright expression of a leader's thinking. So when someone has candor, you understand exactly, you treat them as being honest, and what they say is what you truly believe they mean. Communicating with candor limits the potential for workplace misunderstandings. That's the biggest thing. When you say what you say and people understand that, they don't have to worry about trying to read into what you say. It lets followers know where the leader stands and what they expect. Results in everything working faster and better. More people get involved in organizational conversations, limits common organizational problems. When people trust what the leader says and what they believe, there are many leaders, there are many people say one thing, but they mean something else, or they're very vague by intention. And those things are not what you want to do. So when someone has candor, you don't have any of those issues. The power of stories. They form the foundation of sense giving, influence belief, attitudes, behaviors, help leaders to unite people, help people make sense of complex situations, binds people together in a shared purpose, inspire action. People love stories. I've always said, if you can find a way to incorporate stories into your briefing, to your training, to your instruction, or to your coaching, you're going to have a higher rate of success of people obtaining and retaining exactly what it is you're saying. And you'll keep their interest. Communicating to persuade and influence. Persuasion process. Listen first. Listen first. Don't start talking sometimes. Just listen. Let people tell you what they want you to know. Establish credibility with people. You establish credibility by people, and that's not done overnight. That's done over a period of time because they're going to look at a series of interactions with you. Build goals on common ground. If you have realistic goals set, make sure they're set on the common ground that's been laid out by the organization, the mission, the vision, and strategy of the organization. Make your position compelling to others. If you have a compelling position, it makes it hard for someone to say no. It really does. And a lot of times when it's a compelling position, what I found to be the case that works best is not only are you giving them facts, but you're also giving them emotion behind it. And they pick on your emotion, which is your conviction, your belief in something. Leads to share solution or commitment. Bottom line is this: when something goes good, a good leader doesn't take all the credit, shares that solution or commitment with other individuals. Communication apprehension. Level of anxiety associated with real or anticipated communication with another person. So communication apprehension is the anxiety associated when you have to deal with somebody and for some reason you don't want to, or you don't like doing it, or you have some bad feeling about it. So you will have apprehension about that. Channel, a medium by which a communication message is carried from a sender to the receiver. So what type of channels are we using? Channel richness, the amount of information that can be transmitted during a communication episode. It's the volume of what type of information. Can we put meaningful communication out through this channel? Continuum of channel richness. So when we look at the continuum, we see a couple of things up here. We see the low channel richness and we see high channel richness. So when we look at high channel richness, you look at, I always tell people, the best way to communicate with someone is face to face, if at all possible. Because now you have two-way fast feedback from them. And it's great to have that right there. You're talking to them. And if you can't meet them in person, then try to do it through a video chat or conference. or virtual. That's what I refer next. It's virtual, which is not listed up here. That's what I would consider the next best thing. The worst thing is that you're looking at the formal reports, because all it is a one-way feedback. Somebody reads it, but there's nobody to give feedback to. And see, and you see advantages, you see disadvantages with that. It's one way. So depending upon what type of what type of channel you use determines the richness. Continuation of channel richness. Continuing channel. Characteristics that influence the richness of an information channel: ability to handle multiple cues simultaneously, ability to facilitate rapid two-way feedback, ability to establish a personal focus on the communication. So when you think about it, characteristics that influence the richness of it: ability to channel multiple cues simultaneously. So you may have, in person to person, you can do this, multiple cues simultaneously. Ability to facilitate rapid two-way conversation. Person to person, you can do that, two-way feedback. Ability to establish a personal focus for the communication. You can also do that. That's why I've always said face-to-face, person-to-person is the best way to be. And if it's not person-to-person, face-to-face, and it's virtual, person-to-person. Hierarchy based on information richness. So face-to-face discussion, richest medium, facilitates assimilation of broad cues and emotional understanding of situation. Permits direct experience in multiple information cues, immediate feedback and personal focus. Telephone conversations, voice gives emotional information. So again, you're not with them face to face, but you are talking to them, so you can still have dialogue and rapid response. Electronic messaging. So you look at that rapid feedback and personalization provides a way to get information to a wide audience. So if you're looking at that realistically, you're talking about the virtual. Email, things along those lines. Print information can be personalized, conveys written cues and provides slow feedback. So obviously if it's print information, somebody's getting it, then it's not going to have as fast as feedback as possible as you have with other things. Social media, internet-based applications, including social networking, wikis, blogs, and so forth, that allow the creation and sharing of user-generated content. So social media, we often hear social media, we hear it associated with negative connotation, but it can be used for positive things too. And that happens in the workplace when you use it in the way that, it allows you to reach people under normal circumstances that you could not reach otherwise. Using social media, so internal and external applications, internal team collaboration tools for such as Slack, Yammer, and Microsoft Teams, which I think just about all of us use that. I've not used Yammer before, but I use Slack and Microsoft Teams. External applications, wiki blogs, microblogs, Twitter, Cine, Weibo, content communications, social networking sites, virtual social worlds. So you see there's so many different ways that you can use it to your advantage. And now what you find with these organizations, police organizations, a lot of them, particularly the larger police departments and the state and the federal law enforcement agencies, they have people who specialize in this, and they use them specifically for messaging and taking advantage of channel richness. Nonverbal communication. Messages transmitted through action and behavior. So this is not what's spoken. This is what people see and observe. So we talked about this, how leaders communicate, leading strategic conversations, communications to persuade and influence, selecting the correct communication channel, nonverbal communication. That concludes this chapter.